Bambi's so big that he starts crushing the driver as Shayna and Benji manage to get out. They turn around and see this huge, savage Bambi snarling at them, so they bolt. Get ready to relive the adventure as we recap the story of horror film today. Bambi, The Reckoning, production year 2025. Okay, so there's this storybook lying in the woods. You open it and a voice tells you that the woods can be fun, but also scary, you know? Like right away you see a hunter kill Bambi's mom. Over the years, Bambi gets older, finds a mate, and has a kid. Then, one day, people barge into the woods and a truck runs over and kills Bambi's mate. His kid goes missing and someone knocks Bambi out while others dump toxic waste in the water. Bambi wakes up, drinks the bad water, and totally transforms into something wild. Later, this dude Tyler is target practicing in the woods, using bird carcasses. Gross. He sucks at aiming, and his friend Michael asks if he's ever even killed a deer. Tyler says no, but Michael brags about doing it before. Then they and some other hunters just toss the bird bodies all over the place. Meanwhile, Shayna and Simon are arguing over a phone. Turns out they're supposed to meet up so Simon can see his son, named Benji, but Simon's going to be late for dinner, which understandably pisses Shayna off. She tells him to forget it and hops in a cab with Benji. On the way, the cab driver is chatting with Shayna, and she mentions they're headed to her in-laws' place. The driver says that there have been a bunch of crazy drivers out lately, and that a friend of his wrecked his car in an accident the other day. Just then, Benji starts feeling sick, and Shayna asks the driver to pull over. Benji gets out and throws up while his mom tries to help. Benji wonders where Simon is, cause he thought he'd be with them. Shayna explains that he's going to be late. Then Benji gets worried about his mom and asks if she's going to be deported since she and Simon aren't married. Shayna's surprised by the question, but reassures him that no one's getting deported. They get back in the cab and the driver keeps driving. The driver mentions that his daughter gets carsick too. Out of nowhere, Bambi jumps out in front of the car, smashes it with his antlers, and sends the driver flying into the woods. They're all alive, but Bambi's circling the car, stomping it with his hooves. Bambi's so big that he starts crushing the driver as Shayna and Benji manage to get out. They turn around and see this huge, savage Bambi snarling at them, so they bolt. Shayna never makes it to dinner, and Andrew thinks she stood them up. Andrew tells him to chill, blaming the cab. Harriet goes to check on Mary, Simon's mom, and the old lady keeps repeating, Bambi. Harriet tells her to come inside because it's cold and leads her back in. Harriet sits Mary in the living room and asks Harrison to watch her since she's his grandma, but Harrison's a jerk and says she can't tell him what to do because she's not his real mom. Harriet storms out, annoyed, and finds Shayna and Benji out of breath at the door. Just then, Michael, Tyler, and Eddie head deeper into the woods, ready to hunt Bambi. Meanwhile, Chana feels terrible for leaving the cab driver, but Harriet says it is not her problem. Joshua says he wants to go get help because there's no cell service, and Andrew says it's a good idea. Benji pulls up his pants and his leg is messed up. The hunters find the wrecked cab, and Eddie grabs Chana's phone that she left behind. Then they hear noises in the woods and get ready to fight. Back in the living room, Mary's having visions of Bambi and draws what she sees while humming some song. Harrison gets annoyed and throws a pillow at his grandma to shut her up. Chana scolds him and tells him not to do that while she bandages Benji's leg. He feels bad about the cab driver and thinks he's dead, but Chana tells him that Joshua's going to go check on him and everything will be all right. Tyler's walking through the woods with his gun and hears a noise nearby. He fires and accidentally shoots Joshua, who was just walking along. Chana stares at a picture on the wall that kind of looks like Bambi. Andrew comes over to give her some clothes, and she asks about the paintings. Andrew says he has no clue, but his mom's been doing them for weeks. Now the hunters find Joshua's body, and Tyler freaks out because he just killed an innocent dude. Michael tells him to calm down, tells him to be stealth, and orders them to load the body into the truck to take it away. Benji wants to talk to his grandma, but Harrison says he shouldn't bother her since she's out of it. Harriet yells for Harrison to come help her, who goes off. Then Mary goes to the window to look at the woods, and Benji takes the chance to look at her Bambi drawings. Benji goes to his grandma, but one of the dead birds the hunters left hits the window like someone threw it. Benji looks up at the woods and sees Bambi for a second. He calls for his mom, and Chana runs in, scared. Benji tells her he saw Bambi, but when she looks out the window, Bambi's gone. Now Bambi comes into the house to mess things up. Bambi trashes part of the house and storms into the kitchen where Harriet, Andrew, and Harrison are. They freak out and hide, but Bambi finds Harriet and she runs into the bathroom. She tries to open a window to get out, but Bambi busts down the door and tears up the wall. Harriet gets the window open just in time and escapes, feeling a prick. Everyone piles into Andrew's car and tries to start it. Chana asks about Harriet, and we see her coming, but Bambi's right behind her. Bambi gets super angry, and yeah, she's toast. Then Andrew gets the car started, hits the gas, and barrels out of there while Bambi chases them. On the road, Bambi's getting close, and Andrew doesn't know how to lose him. Harrison notices a door is open, so he jumps out and starts throwing stuff at Bambi to leave them alone. Bambi catches up and starts ramming them to run them off the road. So Chana tells Andrew to speed up. He tries, but the car can't go any faster. Suddenly, Bambi quits chasing them and stops, letting the family escape. The hunters arrive at the family's house and find everything wrecked. Eddie finds one of Mary's paintings, and Tyler finds Harriet's body. Somehow, Harriet's still breathing, so Eddie wants to shoot her to end her suffering, but Michael wants her gone first. Now the family has to stop because there's a huge fallen tree blocking the road. Andrew loses it and starts yelling at his brother Simon since they all went to the woods because he insisted spend time all together, and he didn't even bother to show up. Mary thinks Benji is her son Simon, but he reminds her that he's actually her grandson. Andrew and Harrison get ready to move the tree, and Shayna asks Benji to help start the engine, but then Bambi finds them and charges at them. Shayna tells her son to drive, and he does it without thinking. The rope gets tangled around Andrew's feet, and the car drags him down the road, leaving Harrison behind. Bambi dodges the car and goes after him. Harrison runs into the woods, and Bambi follows until the trees lose him. He tries to lose Bambi to escape, but he trips and falls into some animal crap. Bambi finds him, and Harrison freezes. Bambi gets close and is about to kill him when he hears something off in the distance and decides to go after the sound, leaving Harrison alive. The car runs out of gas, and Shayna realizes they've been dragging Andrew the whole time. She goes to see if he's still alive, and Andrew has practically no face left. Benji comes out to see, and since he is not watching over Grandma, Mary leaves the car and goes to the woods. Now Harrison gets lost in the woods and sees a rabbit and goes to it. He sees it, gets mad just because it got closer to him, and kicks it very far. A bunch of rabbits show up and surround Harrison, but it turns out that all the rabbits are also like Bambi. They go to him, and he is getting back little by little until he falls head first into a bear trap. The rabbits throw themselves at him and start eating him while Harrison screams of pain. Shayna and Benji follow Mary until a weird part of the forest, and she wants to calm the grandma who talks nonsense several times. Benji turns on a flare to light everything, and Shayna realizes that they are standing in Bambi's place, since there are bones and human remains all over the ground. At that moment, Bambi returns home and finds them. They run for their lives, and when they get to the road, they are face to face with Michael's car. He lets them in and tells them that he will take them to his house so they can use his satellite phone and ask the police for help. The car moves forward, and one of the hunters throws the body of a bird out the window so that Bambi can follow the smell. Once at Michael's house, Shayna wants to use the phone, but out of nowhere Simon appears and we notice that the hunters know who he is. Benji lunges to hug his dad, but Simon is not happy to see him. Later, Shayna wants to know how Simon knows the hunters, but he only answers that it is something difficult to explain. Simon explodes that tells Shayna that he didn't want them to go, and that's why he didn't want to spend time with Benji. Shayna is offended and replies that he is supposed to want to have a good relationship with Benji, but at that moment he hears the whole fight and leaves. The fight continues, and we discover that the company in which Simon works is the company that throws the chemicals in the water of the forest. So as now everything got out of control with Bambi, hired the hunters to eliminate the problem. Shayna wants to call the authorities, but Simon makes it clear that he cannot do that, since he would end up in jail. Michael and his partner Joe listen to the whole conversation through the security cameras, but let Joe know that despite everything, they continue with the plan to hunt Bambi. Benji sees how Tyler and Eddie have Bambi's son in a cage, and they want to use him as bait. Shayna wants to call the police as soon as possible, but Simon tries to take the phone from her. Michael has no patience, pulls out his gun, and warns Shayna that if she doesn't hand over the phone, he would hurt her without any problem. Shayna calms down by force and realizes that on the computer screen there are photos of several animals infected by water pollution since they were captured or eliminated by Michael. Shayna is shocked, and Michael tells him that all that is his cleaning work, since he has to disappear all the traces that Simon left when contaminating the forest. Shayna can't believe it, and blames Simon for putting Benji's life at risk in that situation. Benji follows Tyler and Eddie, and sees how they put the cage in the middle of the forest. Tyler wants to do Waz, walks away from his partner, and in the middle of the darkness, Bambi rips off his head. Ugh, F for that, bro. Shayna asks Mary where Benji went, and she only answers that he went uphill. Shayna wants to get more information, but everything she tells the woman doesn't make any sense. Shayna leaves the house screaming her son's name and ends up finding the bodies of Andrew and Joshua thrown. As Tyler doesn't come back, Eddie goes to look for him and finds his headless body. Eddie vomits and sees Bambi in the distance looking at him. Then Benja takes the opportunity to get the deer out of the cage, and Joe can't communicate with Eddie by radio. Joe doesn't find them on any of the cameras, but he does see how Benji is taking the deer out of the cage. Joe warns Michael, and he leaves the house armed, ready to kill Benji. Eddie is going all the way to the house chased by Bambi and enters his car to escape. At that moment, he realizes that the passenger door opened, so he stretches to close it. And when he returns to his seat, Bambi breaks the window to bite him, opens the door and begins to bite Eddie's leg. He gets out of the car and crawls on the floor screaming in pain. Bambi crushes him with his foot and finally rips his head off with his mouth. Joe enters the house to take his things and realizes that Bambi is standing in front of Mary. Bambi approaches, smells it, and when he is about to eat his head, he hears the noises of Joe. Bambi breaks a door with his horns and wants to kill Joe, but she pulls out her pistol and notices that a few meters there are some bottles with gas. She shoots the bottles in order to eliminate Bambi, and the whole house explodes in flames. Benji walks through the forest with the deer, and he goes to afar the explosion. At that moment, Michael finds them, but also Shanna, followed by Simon. Michael points them with the gun, and Simon wants to calm him, but Michael wants Benji to return the deer. Simon asks his son to listen to him, but Benji doesn't want to return the animal. Then Simon gets angry in a brutal way and blames Shanna for putting his son against him. Benji replies that it has nothing to do with his mom, but at that moment, Bambi approaches them and interrupts them. Bambi is a little hurt by the explosion, but anyway, he runs towards them. Michael starts shooting at him until Bambi hits him with his horns and takes him to the forest to kill him. The phone falls to the floor, and Simon runs to retrieve it, but Shanna also sees it and fights against him to make the call. Simon manages to grab him after fighting, and when he gets up, he tells Shanna that he won't let him ruin his life. Out of nowhere, Bambi returns and puts himself in front of Benji. Shanna goes to Simon and asks him to help them, but he is dead of fear, apologizes, and prefers to run out of the forest. Shanna approaches her son and tells him that she will attract Bambi's attention so that he can escape, but Benji does not want to abandon her. Then, Shanda realizes that the only one who wants Bambi now is her son, so she slowly approaches, takes the deer, and leaves it just a few centimeters from his dad. Shanna approaches Benji again, and together they see how Bambi meets his son after a while. Shan and Benji move away a bit, but Michael returns from the forest and hurts Bambi's body with many shotgun shots. Bro Michael wants to finish him off, but runs out of bullets, and Mary eliminates him in a headshot. Benji runs to hug his grandmother, and she is now more lucid. Simon escapes in his car, but when he wants to look for something in the back seats, he finds one of the mutant rabbits. He tries to get out of the car as quietly as possible, but the rabbit jumps on top of him and kills him. Bambi begins to bleed to death in front of his son and finally succumbs to his injuries, while Shanna, Benji, and Mary see the whole scene. And showing this story ends here. Appreciate a subscribe, and please remember to like. Thanks for watching.